building this robot. We're going to go up the Queen's Chamber North shaft. They found some difficulties as they began to start the Queen's Chamber North exploration project. They were attempting to go in October and start the project, get everything done, and then come back in December. And at that point, they were really going to have the thing completed in December, with the robot going all the way up, explore behind the blocking stone, and tell the world what's behind that blocking stone. I think there's definitely, I think that the possibility that humans were civilized and that they were doing stuff and building with big rocks at some point in the last 1 million years or whatever, I mean, it's I think it's not a certainty to me, but I think it's a very high probability. Matt's convinced that the civilization began 45 to 50,000 years ago, and that they were building the pyramids by about 38,000 years ago. And he sees that there's the two possibilities with the Sphinx and the alignment of the Sphinx.
The more we look into this stuff, and the more different minds from different backgrounds and different disciplines we put on this thing, and the more resources we put into it that are sort of outside of the strictness of the academic realm, the more we see these connections.
Over 1 million years? I mean, would we have any record of that if it did exist today? No, absolutely. All that stuff would have been gone, washed away, wiped out. So nobody's ever shot themselves in the mouth with a shotgun after having more than a lethal dose of heroin within their system, like 8 times a lethal dose of heroin or something crazy like that. Nobody can pull a shotgun trigger that's as tall as they are and shoot themselves in the mouth after that happened.
All right, everyone, we are in for a special treat here in the Multiverse. I have a guest who doesn't need an introduction in this space, but I'll give him a short one. Fourth generation retailer and chairman and CEO of Bealls Inc. And host of Matt Bell's Limitless podcast. I threw a Hail Mary last week and scored a touchdown because Matt Bell responded and said, "Hey, yeah, I'll do it. Let's go for it." So thank you so much for joining the Multiverse, Matt.
It's great to be here, my friend. It was great to meet you at Cosmic Summit. I got great vibes from you. And so, yeah, when you reached out, man, I'm all in. Let's do it.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Talk a little bit about Egyptian vases, talk about the potentially groundbreaking episode that you dropped yesterday. That could change everything. We're going to talk about how Bealls Inc. got started and how that whole thing went down. We're going to ask about the Void Project, might even get into some UAPs. And I had just found this out, but Matt has been working on the Kurt Cobain case, which is like super exciting to me. So, but let's start here. That episode yesterday was wild. The thing that I'm having a hard time with is like it's dating ancient civilization seems very difficult to me. You have to really connect loose pieces from across space and time, and you got to look at petroglyphs and look at art and consider all kinds of different things. What was your big takeaway from that episode? Seemed like it got a lot of good response.
It got a ton of good response. Yeah, I mean, people are freaking out about it in the comments section. Like everybody's loving it, and it's fantastic that everybody's enjoying it. So it's different as a host and kind of having that conversation with Matt, in the moment, and just like trying to keep up and trying to like be ready to ask the next question. I haven't even I popped into the live chat, of course, during the premiere and checked it out, but I haven't. I need to go back and watch that full episode again from a viewer standpoint to really kind of, totally grasp a lot of the concepts that he was talking about. He was definitely using, I was honored that he chose Limitless first off to bring his new theory out. And he said that he's going to be spending the rest of his life working on this theory and, building upon it. So I just thought that was super cool to, to do that on our channel. But, yeah, man, there's a lot there. It's super interesting. It's super deep. It makes a ton of sense. I think that he brings a lot with the symbols that he's showing across different cultures across the world. I think that it needs to be explored, man. I think it's if there is an ancient lost civilization, then I think a lot of what he said makes complete sense. So.
Yeah, I feel for you when you're interviewing people and they're saying a lot of stuff and you're trying to formulate questions, but then they move on to something else. And then yeah, so you really do have to go back and watch sometimes. You said if I'm in the if category too. I'm just an open-minded person. But the more we look into this stuff and the more different minds from different backgrounds and different disciplines we put on this thing, and the more resources we put into it that are sort of outside of the strictness of the academic realm, the more we see these connections.
Yeah.
And so I just really appreciate that. I really hope that it keeps gaining traction, and that uh, and one of the sections I watched, in particular, that I watched twice, was about dating, and that seems to be the most complicated issue with his theory, right?
With the dating.
Yeah, with the dating, just connecting dates across space and time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very complex, very difficult to do, and of course, he's looking at the symbols and attempting to date them. I mean, Matt's convinced that the civilization began 45 to 50,000 years ago, and that they were building the pyramids by about 38,000 years ago, and he sees that, there's the two possibilities with the Sphinx and the alignment of the Sphinx to the rising sun in the east happening, 12,000 and 38,000,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
he's convinced it's the 38,000-year-old civilization. And I mean, he went on this dive expedition with
mm-hmm.
Robert Schoch and
I
many
know.
others, and he's finding symbols underwater in these ancient ruins that match other symbols that we're seeing across the world. And so, I mean, that's extremely coincidental. It's just a huge coincidence if there's nothing there. Gosh, man, stuff keeps getting older. I think there's definitely, I think that the possibility that humans were civilized and that they were doing stuff and building with big rocks at some point in the last 1 million years or whatever. I mean, I think it's not a certainty to me, but I think it's a very high probability. So it's good to explore all these topics. But yeah, I mean, between him and I had Land of Kim, Jeffrey Drum on
Yes, excellent
a
episode.
couple of weeks prior, yeah, and did the 3-part series with him, and the full, really deep explanation of his theory. So I mean, different theories both make a lot of sense, but they can't both. Maybe they could both be. I don't know, but
May-
yeah,
Maybe it's a little in the middle, right? Maybe both of them are a little bit right. That's kind of what I start doing when I say maybe it's meeting in the middle.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I love where Matt's taken this with the kind of a deep dive into Hermeticism, and that's what Matt practices. I mean, he lives in a remote location on a lake by himself. No TV, and he's into the mystery schools and to the
Right.
ancient practices, and that's freaking cool. And he dives into it, and so he's able to see that when he's out exploring these ancient sites, and in a way that I think archaeologists and scientists and people that are studying and exploring these things, it would just completely go over their head if that was a possibility for what was going on. So it's fascinating, man. Like every episode, it's like big if true on my channel. It's they're all like big if true.
Yeah, and I that's kind of how I see the world right now. I don't really. It's hard to like trust mainstream sources. You can take some stuff from it, right? But like you've got to look outside of that as well. And that's what's so cool about shows like yours and other shows that I take inspiration from, like I don't know, Danny Jones or Julian Dory or Lex Friedman, or people are just asking questions and outside of the mainstream paradigm. And so, and got this quite collection of guests, right? Like, did you have Michael Button as well?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And he's one of these guys who's zooming way out and looking at this stuff from like 1,000 yards away, and he's looking at it and he's going, you know, this doesn't add up. Like the fossil evidence and the archaeological evidence doesn't add up as far as like the human brain capacity. Where are you at on that? Like, do you think it's possible that like super smart humans were running around different types like a couple 100,000 years ago?
I mean, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that that's basically scientifically proven at this point,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, humans that as intelligent as we are today, from a intellectual standpoint, measurable, I mean, same size
Hmm.
brain, and potentially, knowing a lot more about just the nature of things and kind of just the natural world. Yeah, very, very possible. Why wouldn't it be over 1,000,000 years? I mean, would we have any record of that if it did exist today? No, absolutely. All that stuff would have been gone, washed away, wiped out. So, yeah, I mean, you're talking about Neanderthals, you're talking about Denisovans, you're talking about
Hmm.
Homo sapiens. All on the planet at the same time, and people were building stuff. I mean, there's records
Hmm.
400,000 years ago, people building wooden houses, and there's boats from hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago that have been found. So it's like, yeah, I'm there, man. I'm I'm
Yeah. Yeah, there's a 400,000-year-old fireplace. And when you go, like, if you think about the combination between catastrophism and gradualism kind of being both a thing as far as like how the planet changes and how civilization can rise and fall. There could have been in 100,000 years, 200,000 years, like, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. Where is it? I got a poster back there, but I think Tolkien might have been onto something, like it sort of like, because there may have been like intelligent species building different types of stuff with different views on the world, and it could have been anything, and it's super exciting for me, because I feel like we're kind of at the cutting edge of, not me personally, but like we as a species are at the cutting edge of getting some of these answers. The point is we're at the cutting edge, man. We're gonna find out like a lot of stuff in the next few 20 years, I mean, and because of outside projects like what Grant, or not Graham Hancock, but Robert Schoch and LaCroix are doing, and what you're trying to do with the Void Project. So, can I ask about that now? What is the latest on that? And what was the sort of like, how did that start? Like, how did you go, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna see if I can figure this out myself?
on the big void, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the latest with that thing is that, well, let me back up and maybe just kind of talk about how it started,
Yes,
because
please.
yeah, so I was introduced to the pyramids team by Matt Simpson, who has a big channel on YouTube, Ancient History Channel, and so he thought that I might be a good fit to work with those guys and to be on the team and to help support them with the robotics that were being built and just kind of some of the funding that was involved in the project. So I connected with them. Like, hell yeah, this is about a year ago. Let's go, and let's get into this big void. And so, that's what the plan was early on. And then a few months go by, and it was a change of direction to the Queen's Chamber North Shaft, and this was direct from Zahi Hawass himself. And I don't know, if it was because he's, I don't want to speculate, but I know that he had, his coming out party was kind of the first time they explored the shaft
Right.
in the southern shaft, and so, um, I'm wanting to relive that or whatever. But for me, the passion project was really the big void altogether. But I was already financially committed, at that point, so I didn't
Hmm.
have a whole lot of pull. So they went ahead and, it was like, okay, well, we're building this robot. We're going to go up the Queen's Chamber North Shaft. All right, cool. December comes along with there was going to October came along of 2025, and they went in there, and it was, they found some. They found some difficulties as they began to start the Queen's Chamber North exploration project. They were attempting to go in October and start the project, get everything done, and then come back in December. And at that point, they were really going to have the thing completed in December with the robot going all the way up, explore behind the blocking stone, and tell the world what's behind that blocking stone. But complications in October made it so they couldn't accomplish that in December. So December kind of became the October trip, and now it's kind of pushed into early 2026 when
Hmm.
that project is going to be complete. So now that's where we are. So I've just kind of given up on telling people what they're telling me the timeline is, because
Okay.
they just keep it just and I'm not, it's not blame, it's not it's not, this isn't it's just how things work.
Right.
And you have to have patience with Egypt and with the, the people there, and with the fact that this is very, very high tech equipment that they're building, and that things can cause setbacks. And that's just the reality of the situation. So here we are, and it's January, and just full transparency, there was a bit of a liquidity call, and I held out on that and said, "Look, man, I'm really here for the big void. Like, I want to get the big void done, and that is where my passion is, and that's what I really want to fund in 2026." And so they hear me loud and clear. The conversations are happening with Zahi. He still wants to knock this thing out. Everybody's focus is really the big void once this thing is done. So, et cetera, et cetera. We still plan on the big void in 26, which, for me, I hope that's the truth, but I hope it happens. I know that that's what the plan is, but I hope that that's what happens. But that's where we are. So I'm like, okay, here, let's go. Here's, I still want to be a part of this team. I still want to drive this thing forward. I still want to make progress. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm here to support you guys. But let's get, let's really try to get an emphasis on getting to this big void project. Because the world needs to see what's in here. They want to see what's in here. So that's kind of where it stands right now. I was supposed to go to Egypt on the December trip, but since it didn't happen in December, we're going to delay that. Actually going for the eclipse in 27, and I'll be there for the big void whenever that happens as well. So I'm pumped about that. That's Luxor, though. That eclipse is going to be in Luxor, which is going to be freaking insane. I mean, it's like a 7-minute full totality or something like that. We went to Texas, my wife and I, last year. It was mind blowing, just a mind blowing event. So. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the void. So the pressure is on the team to make sure that it's the big void that gets done in the near term, and that's kind of what both me and Sean fully gets it and fully supportive, and he's the team leader. I did a podcast with him updating on the project, and so there's a lot of crazy good detail in there about the big void and the Queen's Chamber North Shaft and what they're doing and why it's complex. But it's that's where we're at, man.
So is it a tech issue, a political issue, a combination of the two?
It's more tech issue for the Queen's Chamber North right now. I mean, it's not that Zahi's given them permission. He wants to do it. And it's more just that they weren't able to get all of the prep work done that needed to be done to secure the area, to make sure that it was going to be a seamless peak behind the Queen's Chamber North Shaft. It didn't happen in October. So, and it was technical related more so than anything.
Have you spoken with Zahi? I'm not one of these Zahi haters. I like Zahi and respect him for like the stuff that he's done. And like, I watched his episode on your show. I watched this episode on Rogan's. I've been following his work since, the 90s, seeing the documentaries and stuff. And so, but I was just curious, like, cause had you spoken to him directly?
I have not. No. Zahi came down for the podcast that we recorded late last year. And, I went to dinner with him the night before, recorded a podcast with him. He's exactly the person that you think that he is.
Yeah.
He is that guy. And, that's Zahi. And, so like him or hate him, he's not faking anything when he's going on Rogan and talking like he talks. That's how he talks. He kind of cleaned it up and softened it a little bit from a PR standpoint, because he got into some trouble after Rogan. So he was just a little more reserved and polite on my show. But yeah, man, that's him. Like him or hate him. The part that's frustrating, of course, is just I'm the most open-minded person that's ever lived, and this is exactly what happened in ancient Egypt. That's the part that people are like, bro, like that's what yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, he's Zahi.
I'd like to hang out with him and smoke a cigar with him or something.
Yeah. Small. Yeah. Yep.
I would. So if you could, Matt, speculate a little, best guess, what the heck is in there?
Oh God. I think it's a big void. Yeah, just a total I think it's I think it's another Grand Gallery. If I had to just guess,
Yeah,
it's like it's probably another Grand Gallery above the Grand Gallery, but they don't but that's total speculation. Like we
right.
like they don't even know the shape yet of it. They're fairly
Right.
certain it's about, 40 meters and two semi trucks, in terms of like volume or whatever. But it's a big guess, man. It could be anything. What do you think?
Well, I talked to an engineer the other day about this, and he thinks the Grand Gallery is like structural and for structural integrity purposes, and he thinks that it's another Grand Gallery as well
Yeah.
with a similar function of structural integrity.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, this guy was really, he's one of those guys who really tries to stay in the lane, but like not too far, not too, sometimes he'll swerve, and he looks at it through an engineering perspective. And he looks at all these things like he doesn't think, for example, cultural diffusion is responsible for, say, similarities in construction or similarities in symbolism across space and time. He thinks it's the human brain, in the same way that it like in everything that it does, eventually it starts recognizing these patterns and doing these certain things, building these certain structures, drawing these certain shapes, and it's just part of human development and whatnot. What do you think about that?
Oh man, I don't know, man. That's yeah, that's out of my pay grade. I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough one.
It is, and I like to I think cultural diffusion is more of a better answer, but yeah, again, above my pay grade. I just like talking to people who really understand these things from a different perspective. 'Cause it always makes me go,
Mhm.
you know. You mentioned eclipses. There was one here. I live in Georgia. I think it was like 2017 ish. You're in Florida. Did you guys catch that one? 2017, 2018.
We did. Yeah, I remember being outside for that, and it was yeah, it was wild event.
It's weird when the birds stop chirping.
Yeah.
That's very strange. And did you feel like an energetic change in your physiology?
Oh, it was wild, man. Yeah, so, yeah, my wife and I were, laying out in the grass basically, for, like, a couple of hours prior to, and just, like, we just got a spot out in nature, and we're just kinda, just, being woods people and and just enjoying nature as the eclipse was kind of approaching, and then, yeah, as it went to the totality when everything went dark, that's really when the bugs and the birds and everything else just started completely freaking out and like
Right.
flying all over the place. And like, bugs came out of came out of nowhere, started buzzing, like, what is
Mm-hmm.
going on? And it's
Mm-hmm.
nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you feel like it is like the most awe-inspiring feeling to be under that and to see that from Earth is like it's one of the most incredible things that I've ever experienced in my entire life, and that's why it's worth flying around the world for me to go back to Egypt to feel that again. You don't really, I mean, unless I know a lot of people have experienced eclipse, so they know what I'm talking about. But it's hard to verbalize, but it's one of the most just awe-inspiring, holy shit moments that you can experience, I think, as a human being.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I wonder if being at an ancient site amplifies that a little bit.
Yeah,
Probably, right?
yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So when is the one in Egypt?
It's 2027, and I believe it is August 2nd.
Maybe that'll be my first go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's booking up quick, man. Luxor is booking up quick. You don't get it in totality at Cairo. You gotta be farther south, so,
oh.
yeah, Luxor is booking up. If anybody's thinking about it, I'd encourage you to go ahead and make your reservations right after my assistant, books mine.
um, so are you bringing the fam or?
I'm breaking just my wife and I, so far. So, I don't know if we've got a 5-year-old, so I don't know if we'll bring him or not. But, so as of right now, it's, we're being a little selfish, wife husband trip.
That's all right. Got to do that sometimes, right?
You got to. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know you had a kid. So how's being a dad been for the last 5 years?
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I've actually have 4 kids. So, I've been married twice. So, my first marriage, was about 10 years, and then now I've been married for 10 years again, and, 2 I had 2 boys with, first wife and 1 boy with my second wife, and they're 18, 16, 5, and my wife has a 15-year-old girl, so we're a his, hers, and ours, big great big blended, beautiful family, so
Nice, nice. Yeah, we don't have kids, and that's so all of our trips are selfish trips.
nice, nice, yeah.
But I really appreciate the dads out there putting in the work, and dads are super important, don't you think?
No doubt, man, no doubt. We've all got our roles in society, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. We met at Cosmic Summit. You were busy because you were one of the main attractions with your vase collection. But I got to speak to you briefly, got to speak with your wife. You guys both just have really great, I don't know, energy, vibes, something like that. Aura. So this is directly from Cody. This is a question directly from Cody at East 10 Outpost. And he wanted me to ask you if you're a Palladian.
My Palladian. Oh God, Cody. You're gonna have to remind me what a Palladian is.
A Palladian is like interstellar being from a different different
Oh God.
galaxy that visits, and apparently some of us have Palladian DNA in us,
Right. He's
and yada
mentioned.
yada. I don't know the whole thing,
Right,
the whole
right, right.
thing behind it, but he thinks you're some sort of. He called you Thor the other day. He because of your beard. He said you're turning into Thor,
A
and he
little
said
bit, yeah.
and he said you have aura in real life. That's what he said. So I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but
I I love Cody, man. He's a great dude, and, we recorded an amazing episode, and he's got some amazing energy too, so I'm super grateful for Cody, but, I identify as life. I don't know. This reincarnation thing's pretty interesting because 'cause I've explored that with some of the most recent episodes, and I hadn't really explored it before, but it kind of for me is making some sense, and if that's
Mhm.
real, then hell, man, yeah, we could all have different lives. We could have been a dog in our past life. We could have been from a different star system in our past life. I mean, I think, it's interesting to think about, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Me neither. I
Mhm.
don't really get into that stuff, but it is true. I mean, we're all made of star stuff, right?
Yeah,
And so we all come from the same place, and we're made of the same elements, and it's all connected apparently through quantum physics across space and time. So who the
yeah.
hell knows?
Who
Whatever
knows?
that means, anyway.
Right.
With Cosmic Summit, was that your first time going to one of those events?
Second time at Cosmic Summit, but first time as a presenter at Cosmic Summit, and yeah.
Okay, and how was that experience for you, presenting and also having the vase collection and all that stuff? You were a busy man.
It was great, man. It was super cool, super chill. Didn't feel any, stress or pressure. George was great, as a host. It was just cool to hang out with a bunch of friends, a bunch of people that I've had on the show. And it was just a fun event. I went with my wife, Ryan, my producer, and his wife came as well. We brought the vases, talked all about the vases and everything that we knew up to that point. And of course, a lot of my information was based on Max, Dr. Max, who brought on the show a handful of times, and
Mhm.
he shared his opinion, and I based a lot of my presentation on his work, and then of course, right after the presentation, he did a 180, just a complete 180, and went a
Mhm.
completely different direction with it, and which I think caught a lot of people by surprise, including myself, and I haven't really had the time to kind of dig into his work, but I know that with it being out there, I just got a text yesterday from Dan Richards, and he's like, I'm dropping a video on the vases, and it's going to be kind of controversial, and it's going to challenge some of the conclusions that Max drew. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going, man. I'm open to, and I've been open since day one. Like, what are these things, And Ben asked the question originally, and I'm eternally grateful for Ben to for getting me, Van Kirkwick, for getting me into this topic. And I've created just a really nice collection of ancient stone artifacts. And in addition to those, there's 8 or 10 of them that are extraordinarily precise. You know, and there's questions about them. Like, are these ancient? Are these modern? How were they made? You know, and with what tools? So I think a lot of those questions are still not answered. And for me, the Max conversation was not conclusive. You know, to draw 100% on any individual artifact. And there are a couple of artifacts still that like there's no I haven't heard a good explanation for, because they do show a tremendous amount of wear. They seem to be extremely ancient, and you know, they're very precise. So I don't think it's over, you know, but if that ends up being the answer, that some of the most precise ones, or all of the extremely precise ones were made with in modern times with modern machinery. Okay, that's great, man. We just exposed a huge issue on the art market, and we just, we're exposing frauds and fakes, and that ought to be out there, and that ought to be talked about. I'm totally okay if that's the answer. And is it a waste of money? Is it a waste of time? No, I don't think so. I think everybody learned a lot from this project, and talking about this, and kind of getting it out there in the public, and just being honest and saying, hey, here's scans, here's what we know, here's what we don't know. Let's talk about it. Enough people talk about this, we'll figure it out. And it's something that was important enough to me to invest in and to dive into, and to hopefully bring some knowledge to the world with the Vases, and say, let's figure it out, guys. And people jumped on, people got into it. And I think maybe a bit of a downer now with kind of Max's conclusions. But again, I don't think it's completely over yet.
Yeah, yeah. And you touch on something that I think is really important. That, if the vases aren't super ancient, that's okay. It's one of these things that, like, people they start identifying with their ideas and whatnot. It's my view that, as long as you find the truth, then you're right. Like, being wrong is right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think it's ever wrong. I don't think you're ever wrong if you come into it with an open mind, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, so, but that's what it becomes for some people, especially on the mainstream side. It's about being right, and their whole narrative is gonna be now, "Oh, I knew all along that, blah, 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 blah,"
Right.
and it's like, that's their own thing. It's just ego, and you just gotta, smile at it and say, okay, well, thank you for your contributions to the project. It was very, very helpful. And but we did learn a lot. We learned a lot of, regardless of what happens, we learned a lot about so far about the manufacturing process of them. And by the way, the tool marks that we see on the ancient ones are exactly the same as we see on the most precise ones. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
coincidence, I guess. But it's we learned a ton about how these things were made and how they were manufactured, but there's still a lot of mysteries to be unraveled, and that's kind of the exciting part about the project. And just to hold one of these things that is, from a time that's, completely not understood when we're looking at like the pre-dynastic time period. I mean, we have nothing from that time period, nothing. And to be able to collect ancient art from that time period, and preserve it for future generations, and hold on to it in a collection, and hopefully get it into a museum or display it at some point, if we can, actually, finally say with a high degree of certainty which ones of these were manufactured in a way that we can be, reasonably assured that they do date to that period. I mean, then that becomes a fun deal, where you've got these things in museums, and in a museum, and people are coming to look at it and
Right.
enjoy them, and all, and learn from them and all that. So yeah, it's just been a great experience all around, this whole vase project. I've really enjoyed it. And the ups and the downs are just, you expect that coming in, man. I mean, it's there's gonna be that's gonna happen, so it's all good.
Sweet. I have a picture of me standing next to you holding the vase, and the vase is so heavy, that, like, I'm like holding it like this, and I'm standing on the side, and Brittany took my picture, and it like makes my biceps look like way big. It's like I'm having to like do a bicep curl with this vase, and I'm like, I'm really not that jacked, but I'm totally throwing the picture in there anyway.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool moment for me, holding the vase and just going, holy shit, like, because you don't really get to do that. Like, I love museums, but you rarely get to hold an artifact. So thank you so much for that. I think a lot of people were really grateful to you for that experience.
That's a fact, yeah. People were so appreciative and just kind and just, yeah, that was the coolest part of the whole thing, just seeing the kind of the expression, the gratitude, and, people gravitate towards the, you know, the ones that you're talking about, you know, the really heavy stone, really ancient, you know, very worn, aged artifacts, and, you know, some people were gravitated more towards the more finely made precision artifacts. But either way, you know, you're in awe of what you're seeing and touching, and that part of it for us just was awesome. I mean, that just made it worth it. The whole, you know, driving them up and, you know, all of that. It's not a short trip, but it was fun.
So you drove them from Tampa to Greenville?
I got to thank Ryan on that one, man. Ryan drove them. Ryan offered to drive them up there while I was above in an airplane. So much props and respect and thanks to Ryan for handling the vases with care during that trip.
Shout out Ryan. Shout out Ryan. Hopefully he makes an appearance on in the multiverse here soon. We've been talking about that.
Cool.
And so are you going to go next year? If we do have it this year, I mean.
If we do it, yeah, I'd likely be there again if they do it again. Yep.
Nice. I'm hoping because George, last time I talked to him, was talking like he was being vague, but he was talking like, you know how George is. He's like talking big things. It's going to be the biggest one ever.
Yeah.
But you said, are we having one, or do you know something I don't know?
I just walked in, and Ryan was talking to me this morning about he was on a live stream with George the other day, and he wasn't really. From what Ryan's saying, he just wasn't like committed about it. I think this was yesterday that the live stream was, and he just didn't say like that it was definitely happening and when it was happening or where it was happening. And usually by now he's in like full promotion mode for it. So he just thought that was strange. I haven't spoken with George directly about it. He reached out to me about a different topic recently, but not Cosmic Summit.
Interesting. Well, I hope we do. I know that he put out a thing about they're trying to get funding to make it happen because George put his own dime on the last 3, basically.
Right.
And the last one was a huge success, I thought. It was like I didn't talk to one person. It was like, man, that sucked. And it's just bringing the community together like that, seeing people you see online, meeting friends online, and also just in that open-mindedness environment for the most part was really, really fun. So I hope you do come back next year. Staying on the vases quick. So you saw a video, you interviewed Ben, and shout out to Ben because he's done so much for this community of lost ancient civilization niche and that kind of thing. And so he really like revitalized me. I got into Graham and Randall, not Randall, but Robert Schock and all that stuff in the 90s and early 2000s. Then I was in the Army for like 8 years. Then I had to be an adult. And then I don't know when, maybe 2018 or 2019, I started discovering his videos. And they're some of my favorites. That's how I learned about the tube drills and stuff like that. And so was it a similar experience? You seen him online and you're like, I got to talk to this guy on my show. Yeah. And then you brought him on the show and he told you about the vases. And then you're like, I got to get me some or what?
Yeah. I mean, how it just a little bit out of order, but yeah, very similar. I mean, I saw him online and was watching his channel and was just fascinated by it and by his videos. And then he started getting into the vases. And after the first vase video that he put out, I started buying them. I just started I'm like, okay, well, either these are pre-dynastic and they're incredibly undervalued if they're pre-dynastic, or they're or they're not. And if they're not, then your downside. it's what you buy them for. And if they are pre-dynastic, then these things are freaking
Priceless.
amazing, and you're
Yeah.
collecting a piece of history that's like, and if they're older than that, if they're what Ben says they are, then you're talking about, in terms of like, we got to get these things out of this showroom in Los Angeles, collect them, and get them into a safe and protect them. And so that's kind of the goal. Value aside, it's like, this is just fascinating to me, the topic and how they were done and when they were done, and just the fact
Mhm.
that, like, you can't buy artwork, that's 1,000 years old, because it just deteriorates and it goes away, and it just it flakes and breaks up, and over time, unless but I mean, what you can buy is stone, and something ancient that is never going to go away is stone, and the fiat currency that you're trading it for is going to be worthless, way prior to when the stone is. So yeah, it just felt like a generational kind of a. And then I'm thinking, as some time went on, it's like, oh well, you could tokenize this, you could
Mm.
turn this into a digital asset, NFT. You could share this with the world. People could have fractional ownerships of this. Who knows what this turns into in terms of like a long term thing. But yeah, I guess from a just an inner knowing and inner exploration, and just a curiosity standpoint, combined with an investment that I felt like was going to be, not stupid, combined with something that I could pass on to my family, combined with something that I could let the world enjoy and learn more
Mm.
about. It's like, okay, this checks a lot of freaking boxes. I'm all in, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what happens. So.
That sounds like a good move. What can you talk a little bit about the process of buying those things? Like, where do you get them? Like, probably just different places. How do you check the providence and all that stuff?
Yeah, real quickly on that, I mean, you buy them from, auction sites, yeah, Christie's, Sotheby's, Bonhams are some of the popular ones. You buy them from, and usually that happens from estate sales. People, a head of a family dies,
Okay.
and the kids are just liquidating the assets, and so that's where they go. And so, sadly, but that's usually you get a big bulk of them at one time on one of those sites, just depending
Mhm.
on the size of the collector. And then, you can just websites like antiquity sites. So people buy and sell these on the antiquities market. So maybe the owner didn't die and just needed cash, and sold it to, whoever. There's probably 12 to 15 different antiquity sites that are, reputable and valuable, and you can go online and search for them and find them. Just search ancient Egypt antiquity dealer, and you'll be able to, you can. But now they don't really exist out there online because of the demand and the supply. So
Mm.
it kind of tells you they're not being created, at least in present day, other than Max. They're not being created in Chinese, shops right now today. Because the supply is essentially gone, and what exists out there is not these highly precise ones. It's the ones that are beat up and clearly ancient, and they're overvalued. They're overpriced. And because, and that's the only reason that they still exist. Otherwise, they'd have been sold. So, yeah, that's kind of how you buy them.
Nice. Okay, cool. And so this is something I really want to ask you. Everyone's got an origin story when it comes to these topics. For me, it was like a quest for lost civilization. No, Quest for the Lost Civilization by Graham Hancock, had Robert Schock in it. I snuck out in the middle of the night, watched it on TV when I was a kid. uh, got started. I would consume anything like that about ancient civilization, particularly Egypt back then. But then, like I told you, I was in the military. Life took over. I was passively interested. And then the last 7 or 8 years, because of people like Jimmy Corsetti and Ben Van Kerkwick and all these channels popping up, including yours, I got back into it. What is your origin story? How did you get pilled on this stuff?
Yeah, I've kind of just always taken the red pill, since I was born. But Ryan, can you come in for a moment? There was one book that's actually here in the studio that really was instrumental and game changing for me as a kid. And that book is, thank you, sir, Mysteries of the World.
Okay.
This one for me was when I was a kid. I read this, and it just like opened my eyes up to possibilities. That's the original book from when I was a kid. It opened my eyes up to the possibilities of like what's really going on out there. I was 7 years old, I think, somewhere around there when I read it, and maybe 8, something like that. But it was like I just found out Santa Claus wasn't real. Um, and I was, like, devastated, because, I mean, I'm, like, trusting
Right.
the people that I love to tell me the truth about reality, and, like, I've always been interested, like, what's really real? What's reality? And so,
Mm,
I read this book, and it's like, okay, you got pyramids, you got crop circles, you've got, all of these incredible, topics, ruins of Pumapunka, the great city of Peru, the great Zimbabwe, underground cities, megalithic temples, all this
that's 7.
it just goes
Awesome.
on and on and on and on and on. I mean, that's like a fifth of the book. And, so that got me into it. And then Bob Lazar came out and he started talking about, what he's working on. And I'm like, is this guy real?
Mhm.
My mom, meanwhile, is dragging me to church every week, which did not feel right to me as a kid going there to just repeat the same ritual every week. Like I wanted to learn, okay, if this is real, if this is God, and this is the afterlife, like what's like I want to learn about it, but the ritual weekly wasn't really helping me kind of get there. So like I was wondering, am I wasting my time here? Am I really, all these thoughts and kind of questions, but it all surrounded around kind of exploring reality and what's real. And then as I get older, it just became more and more obvious that when you conclude, when you draw a conclusion, when you take something, to full, this is real, this is then you're limiting yourself. You can't really find the truth if you lock into one thing. And so I tried to let go of as much as possible and just kind of be open to different theories and ideas. And then the idea of a podcast was like perfect because I can talk to all of these brilliant
Mm.
people with all of these brilliant ideas and theories and thoughts and life experiences, and kind of build my own understanding of things just based on in a probability based way, as opposed to a belief based way, that I could kind of explore reality, in an open minded way. So that's kind of been my approach. It's not right, wrong, good, bad. It's just kind of the way that I'm looking at things.
In a nutshell, yeah, I'm sure it's like more complicated. You
Yeah.
skipped a few things in the middle, but mine's similar. Like I had a church, I used to go to Catholic church, and as a kid, and it just never. I don't know. I'd be like 8 years old, and I'd have these weird, they're just thoughts of like, I don't think this is works for me. Like I don't think this makes sense. And that doesn't mean that I that I'm against it or anything like that. It
Yeah.
was just something that like at a young age, I was always like, nah, there's got to be something different. There's got to be more stuff. And so similar inspiration for my show is like, I just wanted to talk to people about this stuff. And what better way to do so than with a podcast, right?
Right. Right.
And so let's talk about that a little bit. You started the podcast when, and like you've really, I was talking to Ryan about this, and I take inspiration from this, but there's an evolution. You can see it in everybody's content, and you guys, it seems like you guys are constantly like evolving and upgrading and changing things, and I try to do that too. That's why you got a new logo background. But what was the process of starting the show, and how did you find Ryan, and how did that all work out?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, the process of starting the show, I mean, we started in October 2023, so we're 2 years and just a few months old now. And yeah, I just decided that I'm ready to start a podcast. Like I've got, I'm gonna quit golf. Yeah, I play that once every couple of weeks or once every week or whatever, and I'm gonna free up those 6 hours and do a podcast instead. And so that's what I decided to do. and I think I'm adding more value to my life now and to other people's now. So
Mhm.
I think it was a good call on building something. I like to build. If I'm going to be here doing something, it's like building things. You built constructs when I was a little kid, and kind of
Mhm.
I'm just addicted to like building. And as a CEO, you want that, and you want to constantly be adding projects and making things bigger and better. And so that's kind of the evolution of the studio. It's always incremental changes and
Mhm.
one thing after another. In terms of my ability to host, I try to work on that and watch myself and get better as a host, and let go of things that aren't helping me from a mental standpoint,
Mhm.
to be as clear as I possibly can as a host. So, I mean, and you go through ups and downs with all that stuff, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of that mindset of growth has always been with me, and that kind of helped with the kind of was a big part of the reason why I decided to build a podcast, because I had the capacity to do it. And I've got a company here that I'm operating, and I'm here 10 hours a day, 5 6 days a week, 12 hours. I mean, I'm where I still have time to focus on my core, which is my company, and my family, my immediate family, and I still have some time left over. So why not build something else, and something that's really like a passion,
Mhm.
that you enjoy. And but I see some synergy with it, in a way. I do think that as a company, as a retailer, Bells, we're just under the radar. Everybody says Bealls, nobody knows who we are,
I
and
didn't want to admit that, but
yeah.
I called it Beals for years.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody does, because we've been under the radar for 110 years, and it's like that's where the last CEO wanted to be. He's like, I want to fly under the radar, and it's like I don't think that's good for business. I think
Mhm.
like when you see Elon Musk out there, like people know who he is, and they got a connection with them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have fun, do what I love, explore my passions, and get our voice out there as well, and at least have people be able to say, okay, well, it's Bell, it's Bell. I don't have to listen to the podcast. I don't have to like this guy, but at least we'll have a name recognition so I think there's some good synergistic reasons to do it from a brand building standpoint and totality. But just in general, I freaking love it, man. I love like meeting people and new friends. I mean, you talk about Cody, you talk about, all the guests that I've had on the show, like, not all of them, but most of them, I vibe with. Like they're cool. They're cool, just laid back people, and with open minds that are passionate, and researchers, explorers, and they want to get their voice out there. So these are good people, and just making friends and like connecting with a whole new community, and being able to reach into different communities. And
Mhm.
maybe I want to explore crypto at some point, because
Mhm.
that's a passion of mine. And the future rails and the future economic structure of the country, and kind of what does the future look like from an economic standpoint. I mean, there's all these different places that you can go into. It doesn't have to be, and that's kind of why I named it Limitless. But I do want to
Mm.
announce here on the show, on your show,
Woohoo.
as you have announced that, I guess you've got a new background and whatnot here, that Limitless is going through a slight rebrand as well. I'm letting go of the name Limitless, and it's just
Hmm.
it's just going to be the Matt Bell podcast.
Okay.
So I just think that things always evolve towards the most simple, explanation, name, process, whatever.
Mhm.
And building the word limitless, and having that be the thing, is kind of, I don't see the benefit in that, really. And I feel like Matt Bell podcast, very straight to the point. Um, and that there's just, I'd rather make a change now than make a change when I'm at a million
Right.
followers, and just like not that this had anything to do with it, but the last final little straw might have been Elizabeth Carson Unlimited. uh
Ah.
and not like, it's just a little close, and it got me
Yeah.
thinking, like, well, why do I really need this? What, it's like, it's kind of, And she's great. I love her. She's an amazing person who came on the show as well. But it just got me thinking, like, is Limitless long term? Is it gonna? What's it gonna add? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, if you look at all the big, kind of what you do, what I do, you're talking to people one on one. It's a lot of them evolved to that, like the bigger shows, the Danny Jones podcast, the Julian Dory podcast, the Joe
Right.
Rogan podcast, the Lex Friedman podcast. It's a picture of them, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I think that's a good move, but I do kind of like Limitless.
I
But
do too. I know it's hard to let go of. I know it is. It's one of those things, but I practice letting go. That's like my thing. So, yeah, I do like it. It'll be sad to say goodbye to that word, but yeah, like you said, I mean, Danny Jones was Danny Jones Concrete. Right.
right, correct.
He realized 1 million followers in, well, concrete's not doing anything for me. And I didn't want to be that at that place at that time. I wanted to make the change earlier. I've thought about it for 6 months, and it was finally like, it's like, all right, let's just do it, man. And Ryan was all in, so we're in.
It's hard changing stuff. I recently went through a bunch of changes because I had a whole team. I had a producer, Brittany. I had a co-host, Mike. But Mike was kind of had his foot out the door for a few months. When he went back to school, and like I had to like rebrand a little bit. But then you got to go back and like change a bunch of stuff. And I've got like emails and accounts attached to all these names and stuff like that. But it's been a process. But I have a new producer too. Shout out Alexander Cheshkovich. I don't know if you've heard of this dude. A Polish prodigy, wrote a book on lost ancient civilization at age 17. That's it right there. And he's a really fascinating guy. He's only 22. His potential is limitless.
Wow.
So
Nice.
just wanted to put him on your radar. And so yeah, it's interesting, to watch the evolution, and I can see, the direction you're going. But is there any other? You said you wanted to start doing more on crypto. Is there any other topics that you're like you haven't talked about or explored on your show that you want to? Because here's the thing. Here's what I run into. I do a lot of Lost Ancient Civ, and then I put out a UFO episode, and then my views tank. But I don't care because that's something I'm interested in, right? I'll talk to anyone about health, wellness. I'm interested in that, mental health, that kind of thing. I don't really care. I'm not trying to make this all about Lost Ancient Civ. But do you run into that, or are you planning on exploring any new topics you haven't explored on the show?
I'm always going to explore the topics that are the most interesting to me at the time. And so
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So Lost Ancient Civ for me is going to continue to be really interesting. The UAP topic is going to continue to be really interesting. The near death experiences, or the afterlife, or just exploring the afterlife in general, is going to become very interesting. Consciousness. I think for me, you might label it as spirituality, but it's really just I think getting identified as spiritual is very similar to getting identified with anything else, and it's something that but it's still a topic that I think there's a lot of really interesting things to explore within it. Cryptos is I'm going through we're the first retailer in the world, America, to launch crypto payments. So you can pay in our stores now with any cryptocurrency from any wallet at any time, and it's instant payment.
Like a tap?
Yeah, a QR code pops up. You scan it, you press it with your phone, and it brings you your wallet, and you press pay.
Boom.
It's the easiest thing in the world. It's powered by Flexa. Flexa is a company that uses a token called AMP, AMP, as collateral. And I am not a financial advisor here, guys, but for me, the AMP token is at least worth understanding. I'd like to put that out there for some friends. I think that it could go to zero. It could get cut in half, but from what I understand, when our company went through this process of selecting a partner, we explore every option, and we're going to go with the best option for retail. And we know about the other options that we have. And Flexa with AMP is the option. It's the only one that works. It's the fastest, most effective. It's the cheapest. It's the best. And this token, if other retailers adopt Flexa, and I think that's coming. I do. I think that's coming, especially if we get clarity with the Clarity Act. Then you could see this AMP token do some parabolic shit. But but that's a big if. It could also go to zero. It could also get cut in half. It just feels just pretty like if that is the way that brick and mortar retailers are going to accept crypto in the near future, then I'm pretty amped about this one token right now. But I'm a crypto supporter. I think that fiat it's never worked. It's never gonna. We went off the gold standard. Once you do that, you're dead.
It's
I mean,
fake.
every empire fell through inflating their money away, and now we have an alternative where the money is going to soak up into and value, and we're building the infrastructure, and people can keep their money in their wallets, and it's not in a bank where the bank doesn't actually own your money.
Own it. Yeah,
You
it doesn't
own your
actually
asset.
exist.
Right. It doesn't exist in a bank. You own your asset in your self-custody wallet. It can be USDC if you want to own dollars. It can be Bitcoin. It can be whatever you want, but you own it. And I think as more and more people realize this, the digital wallets are going to be able to be downloaded more and more they're going to be downloaded. They're going to be adopted. They're going to be used. They're going to be used in store and at retail. And when that happens, people are going to be paying with it. People are going to be paying with crypto, whether it's USDC or whether it's freaking Bitcoin or whatever they want to pay with. And I think the solution to that, for us, I know the solution to that was Flexa, and I think the solution to that for a lot of other retailers is also going to be Flexa. And if that's the case, then AMP might be an interesting thing to consider taking a risk on with a few dollars.
So I should go out and like.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah, no, I am interested though. I'll go check it out for sure. I would be like mildly wealthy if I didn't cash out my crypto in like 2018 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad about it. I actually like at the time the cash out that I did get was like huge, but like so it was so big that like it clouded my judgment a little bit, and it would have been like 4 or 5 times more if I didn't do that.
Right. That's what it does. It just builds, it grows. I mean, that's what crypto does. It's like over time, but people get burned on it because it's so volatile that they get out of it. But what you have to realize is the dollar is debasing it. The currency is debasing by like 8 to 11% every year in terms of buying power, raw buying power. And so people spend that. You want to spend the currency that's debasing, and you want to hold the thing that's appreciating. And crypto as a asset class has been the fastest appreciating asset class in the history of mankind. And certainly Bitcoin up 64 million % since launch. It's I mean, if you take it from like day one, you're talking about like a billions of percentage increase. So yeah, if you can hold that, if you can hold some of your assets in that asset class, I think you're going to be happy if your time horizon is like 5 to 10 years, or more. It's like delayed gratification. The longer you can hold it in there, the happier you're going to be at end of life.
I'm going to take that advice, but wisely. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I'm not meaning if I lose money, I'm not going to come blame you.
Right.
And everyone else should do the same thing. But I get what you're saying. You got to evolve with the times. Fiat's basically fake. No one uses cash anymore anyway. It's going to be interesting for the older people because they're. Do you think about that? Because I don't.
Yeah. But in a lot of cases, people aren't even gonna know that they're paying in crypto.
Okay.
It's just gonna be like built into the infrastructure. Like
the
old economic system of the rails is like 80 years old, and it's just totally antiquated and slow and dated and full of fraud, and just it's just an ineffective, inefficient system. That the banking system, you're taking 10% out of the U.S. GDP every year for no reason. We just don't need it. There's no reason
Hmm.
for that. We can lend money peer to peer. All of that technology is just old and dated and antiquated, and it's just unnecessary. And so, yeah, I mean, old people might struggle with it, but from a technological standpoint, it's going to be seamless. It's going to be integrated into everything that we do, and it'll be working behind the scenes. And as more and more people, yeah, I mean, everything's being tokenized. Assets are being tokenized globally. The stock exchange, I mean, stocks are being tokenized. You're going
Mm.
to start to see buildings in New York. You're going to be able to own fractional shares of those buildings.
Wow.
People are tokenized. Like I said, the vases are. You can tokenize hard assets. You can tokenize art. You can tokenize anything. And currently, coins are being tokenized. And the dollar has been tokenized, and that was that Genius Act, which was brilliant, which is a
Hmm.
way to enhance the demand for U.S. debt by tokenizing the debt, and dollars. And so now
Mm.
people are going to own those and pay with that, and it helps. Yeah, smart economic long-term move. Yeah, it's changing quickly, and I think honestly the time right now when it's Bitcoin is basically halved, and for really no reason. It's completely off of its trend. It's If it had just performed with the Nasdaq, with the rest of the technology sector, it'd be about 180,000 right now. So I think that this is a dip. I think that this is that pullback that people would have wished that this was the entry point that they got back into. When you start to see by the end of 2026, Bitcoin continue to rise, because it's really 90% of the price action on cryptocurrency has to do with liquidity, and we're in a liquid environment right now, because it's a 2026. We got an election coming up. This has to economically be a
Mm.
year when we win, and so they're pumping money back. I mean, this quantitative easing, they're putting $40 billion. They're magically creating $40 billion a month and just putting it into the system. And when that happens, that finds crypto. Like it's always 90% of price action on crypto is liquidity, and so we're gonna see a big year in 2026 for crypto, and it's just this clarity setback is just creating an incredible buy opportunity in my opinion. But again, I get a little bit excited, and I'm
Yeah.
probably an eternal optimist, and I probably don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm certainly not a financial advisor. So ignore it.
Disclaimer. But yeah, I've been thinking about it lately, re-entering. So I'll definitely consider what you just said. So you want to talk about crypto more on the podcast? That sounds like fun and informative for everyone. And it's something you're interested in now, which is cool. It's sort of the Rogan approach, right? Like, what am I interested in right now, and what's interesting to me, which I like. And I think that comes out in your interviews, because you're genuinely curious and interested and informed on the topic. So it's cool. I we talked before online. I did not know, before we went online, I did not know you were looking into this Kurt Cobain topic. Is that something you're going to do on the show?
So I did do it on the show.
Oh,
I
I missed that. My
I
bad.
I know, I took the episodes off. It's a very sensitive topic, for a few people, and
Yeah.
I can't really say too much detail, but I've gotten some pressure behind the scenes about being involved with this,
Hmm.
topic from a few family members, and,
Okay.
that's about all I, can say. The vast majority of, family, and this is not immediate family, but, it's related to my main job, right? So, the vast majority of people are super just like, yeah, that's cool, man. Whatever. You're passionate about that. Go check it out. But then you got one person, maybe two people who are think that there's a big risk involved with doing this, and so.
Okay.
I pulled 4 episodes that I'd done on Kurt Cobain. They're not up online anymore. I'm going to put them back up if the case gets reopened. But the fear is that I'm going to be some target from by some people who may have been involved in the death of Kurt Cobain, either individually or financially. And I think that when you focus on what you don't want to have happen, you manifest a lot of that negativity and
Right.
nonsense and paranoia.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm just having acceptance and patience that this is the mental state of the people that are concerned about this, and that's their thing to carry. But I am I'm being conscious of it and recognizing that fear exists in their mind, and that's a burden to them. And so what I did was I pulled the episode, and I have kind of but just to update you the episodes, but just to update you on kind of what's going on. I would say that at this point I am finished with basically what I can do for this case. Um and for getting the case reopened. And what I'll say without providing specific details is that a 200-page document, which is now a public records document, was generated in 2025 that contained significant evidence and new evidence, new ballistics evidence, new all kinds of new evidence that was turned into the Seattle Police Department at City Hall in November in Seattle, hand delivered by two people, and dropped off and signed. And there was an hour conversation about the document with the mayor of Seattle, with the chief investigator, with the chief of police, with all of the key people that needed to be there were there. And so we dropped that off, and we haven't heard back. And so it's a public document, and they seemed interested when we were there. They seemed like, okay. One of the questions that Sean Barnes asked was, well, why would we care about this if there's been so many other suicides that might have been murdered? Why do we care about this one? And it's like, well, if someone else brought you evidence like this about any of those other suicides that were probably not suicides, we would
Yeah.
expect you to take that very seriously. And so there's an attitude of avoidance towards this from the medical examiner,
Weird.
and from just in general in Seattle historically. But I'm very open-minded now that this is going to be the team that takes this to the next level. And really, all they have to do, it's very simple. There are key people and key witnesses that can be interviewed. All they have to do is go talk to some of those people. I got a well, I won't. I got a little bit. I didn't want to. My big thing is like, don't. I'm not accusing anybody of murder here. Like,
Right.
there's I don't want to, like, and some names were said, and I don't think that matters. Like, I don't care who it is. It's not my thing to figure out. I'm not a freaking detective. I don't care. I don't care who did it. I want the police to figure out who did it. Like, that's
Right.
their job. And so I don't want any beef with anybody that was there that night. I don't want any beef with anybody who, it just needs to be investigated, because the case was never investigated. It was ruled a suicide the same day that the police showed up, the same morning that the police showed up. Somebody walked out of the house and said, "Oh, there's a suicide note next to the body." And so it went viral. It went global. Kurt Cobain committed
I
suicide.
remember.
Yeah, and they couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. But that wasn't a suicide note. That was not a suicide note. And the bottom of it was almost certainly not written by Kurt Cobain, where he said what he said at the bottom of the note. It was different handwriting. Practice handwriting notes were found in a backpack that was left by Courtney at their lawyer's house. The lawyer found practice handwriting notes in a backpack that Courtney had been writing. But I'm not accusing Courtney. I'm just saying that this is out there in the public domain. this is known about, and the Seattle Police Department didn't know that that handwriting, for example, existed. And the lawyer's still alive. They can go talk to her right now. They can go talk to Rosemary Carroll and find out, is that true? Was there really practice handwriting notes that match the suicide note? Like maybe we should investigate. Maybe we should interview some witnesses, because they didn't interview any witnesses. And Courtney's sitting there, freaking out, like, oh, he's been suicidal. And she submitted a false police report in the name of Kurt's mother when he was missing, claiming that he was suicidal and that she was so scared. But there wasn't any talk of suicide at that point, outside of the Rome incident that happened a couple months earlier, which was not a suicide attempt. That was very likely an attempted murder on Kurt, when they were in Rome a couple months earlier in March. So there's just, and the bandmate in Hole ended up dying, who was about a month after Kurt. She died of a heroin overdose in a bathtub, and she was very close to Kurt and potentially had his diary, and they tried to get that from her after her death. And there's just a lot of things that, while there's not blame, there's just needs to be an investigation. We need to, the cops need to figure this out. I'm done with it. I'm out. I've done everything that I can, but the information is there for them, and they can do what they want with it now.
Fascinating. And so, it's what's interesting to me is in the 90s, it was so, you said it's like couldn't get the genie back in the bottle. It was so easy to let the genie out of the bottle back then, and everything, like, just to be coming from one source, like one or two or three main sources. And then next, like, 'cause I remember being 14 or whatever I was, and it was like, whoa. And then, but even back then, the rumors started to surface. So it's interesting because, like, I'm a fan of true crime. My wife and I watch a lot of true crime, but, like, I don't, when we watch TV anyway. And normally, if, like, some new evidence pops up in an old case, people take a look at it. So do you think they're taking a look at it? They just didn't tell you they were, or?
I don't know, man. I mean, the attorney re-emailed them this week. What is today? Yeah, they emailed them this week, and that was just a few days ago. We wanted to give them time, but no reply as of yet to that. But the next steps is to, what. So again, I'm out. But the next steps that Michelle Wilkins, who was one of the two people that turned in the paper to the SPD. She wants to go to the press, and so she's got a podcast, and whokurt.org, and she's got some pull, and she wants to go to the press, and she wants to make this public, and she thinks that that's the only way to put pressure on them to get them to look at this. And so I don't hate that. I don't think that that's wrong, or that that's a bad approach, and she's going to do whatever she wants to do. For me personally, that's that's a big risk on a risk reward side. I feel like it's, I don't want to get that, like, aggressive, I guess,
Mhm.
just because I think all the work will happen anyway, even if I'm, kind of in the background, or, kind of supporting them, and their work, from a background standpoint. I think I can do that without, publicly pushing the SPD and kind of, making it into a war.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I do. What I was thinking about was, like, maybe it's just whatever detective looked at it and was like, and then maybe, like, a new detective gets hired in 6 months, and they're like, hey, go look at those old cold cases, and he's an old Kurt Cobain fan, so he so he decides to go for it. Or maybe there's just speculating, but maybe there's some sort of stopgap. Maybe there's someone who works at a high level who puts a stop to it. I
Mhm.
don't know, just behind the scenes, who knows?
Who knows?
So how did you get, how did you decide, what made you enter that area and try to investigate it and all that stuff? How did that happen?
The first thing that happened in 2015 when I saw the documentary Soaked in Bleach, and up until that point, I didn't think that I just thought it was a suicide, and I watched Soaked in Bleach on Netflix, and I'm like, that maybe it wasn't a suicide. And
Mm-hmm.
Tom Grant was on that program. He was the star of that show, and he was the private investigator hired by Courtney Love to find her quote unquote missing husband, Kurt Cobain. She wanted him to find the body of Kurt Cobain, or alive, of course, and so a number of years went by, and I just was convinced that there's more to this and that I wanted to explore it. And then I started the podcast, and it was like, oh, well, let me just call Tom Grant and have him on my show. So that was the first podcast that I did on this, was to bring that private investigator onto my show. And we did a great podcast about it. And I became 1000% convinced that that this is not a closed case suicide, and that there's potentially a lot more to this. And then I had him back with a former Seattle chief of police who wrote a book about this, and was convinced that he was murdered. Courtney's father had wrote a book also that said that he was murdered by Courtney. Believe it or not, the book was like The Assassination of Kurt Cobain by Courtney Love. That was the title of the book that Courtney's father wrote.
Wow.
And then so that's how I dug into this more. It was really the podcast that opened up that opportunity for me to be able to do that, and then to have Michelle Wilkins on from whokurt.org. And then I began to connect with Michelle more about the case, and decided to take it to the next step with this with this document, and just help them in any way that I could to get that done. And they did just a tremendous job gathering all the evidence together and making it like not like a soap opera conspiracy theory document, but making it like these are the facts.
Mm-hmm.
This is factually what we know and factually what we don't know, and these are the things that you can do to really figure this out if you want to. And so that's kind of how it happened, man.
Fascinating. I really hope that just whatever it's just a bureaucracy thing, and that it in a few months
Yeah,
you
they're
got
busy.
emails you back and it's like, hey, we're on it. That would be global news.
It would be absolutely global news. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, it would be huge, huge news. And, it would kind of shift the perspective of an entire generation, I feel like, who's
Uh-huh.
like been depressed since 1994. And,
Right.
and there's all these freaking suicides that are like copycat suicides that kids are still doing. There was one last year, with a suicide note, and writing about Kurt Cobain, that this was like and of course nobody's ever died of nobody's ever shot themselves in the mouth with a shotgun after having more than a lethal dose of heroin within their system, like 8 times a lethal dose of heroin or something crazy like that, like within their
What?
system.
Yeah.
Nobody can pull a shotgun trigger that's as tall as they are and shoot themselves in the mouth after that happens. So these copycats aren't exact copycats. They kill themselves, but in a different way. But yeah, that's going on. And to be able to put an end to that, when you're talking about, would be amazing. So there's a lot of really good reasons to pursue the truth always.
Totally. Just possibly a little sidestep from the truth, but
Whatever that
he
may be.
he did die at no, I mean me. He did die at 27, which is the 27 Club. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. There's all these. I've heard plenty of conspiracies about how maybe
Post
people.
Malone got through that. I don't know how Post Malone hit 28, man. I figured for sure he would be the next one, but
I love that guy and his music is. I think he's a great. He seems like a really genuine person,
yeah.
and I have this like, with these like Epstein stuff, Diddy stuff. What's the other guy? The Hollywood guy. Anyway, I can't remember his name, but either
Yeah.
way, like if you get compromised maybe in some way to get a little certain amount of success at a young age, you don't realize you're being compromised. Then at a certain age, you become a liability emotionally, maybe, or whatever. And it's like, all right, see you later. You know what I mean? Have you ever looked into that or heard any of that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of yeah, like the conspiracy around him being for bigger reasons, like with the
Yeah,
record company and all
correct.
that. I've heard some of that. Yeah. I don't think it's real. I think it's a very low likelihood but possible, possible.
Yeah, it is weird. I think the 27 Club is really just a testament to how hard rock and roll life is to live, you know?
Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't there's people keep telling me that I gotta explore this other, musician and then, gosh, his name's just, escaped me, but I mean, I think there's a couple that have, like, legitimate question marks surrounding them, and then, most of them just, yeah, coincidence, happen to be 27.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting topic, though. I'm really excited to see if anything comes of it. I wish I could watch your old episodes, but
Hopefully one day, yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully later this year. Hopefully it'll hopefully they reopen it. As soon as they do, man, I'm totally comfortable putting that out there.
I one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about today because I think it's something that's like ever present in your life recently and mine as well, except I just didn't make it as far as you. Is the fasting protocol that you
Mhm.
most recently did. You were very public on X about the process and how you felt, that sort of thing. I've done, like a 2-day fast. Recently, I've done a 2.5-day fast. I I get a little bit of what you were explaining on X, a little bit, but like you went 10 days and you're really giving us an update on how you felt clarity wise, mindfulness wise, energy levels wise. Was that your first time like doing a multi-day fast?
So I think I've done like 3, 3, 5, 4, 10, something
Three,
like
three,
that.
five, four, 10. So you worked your way up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the big thing that allowed me to just blow by the old stuff and just to have this be kinda like a not a real issue when it came to hunger was reframing in my mind hunger itself, reframing the hunger pains and what my or if you wanna call it pain or what your stomach is actually feeling
Mm-hmm.
from "I am hungry" to "I am healing."
Mm.
And when I did that, man, it made it so easy to not go and get a bite to eat because we think we're hungry and then it starts to create this tension in your mind and it like creates this,
Hmm.
this like, oh, am I doing the right thing? And you only have to decide once to break the fast and then it's over. But if you can reframe it to what's really going on is I'm not hungry because I had plenty of food yesterday. I had plenty of whatever it was. Got plenty of fat storage, when I'm sitting there on day 8 or whatever. And really, you're not really even hungry on day 8. You're
Right.
basically you feel full. I mean, and you feel balanced but you have to when you do get those hunger in the first 3 days are the toughest by far. 4, 5 are transition, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are about equal and very you have to be able to like spot meditate, honestly.
Mhm.
You can't like be in your mind the whole time or you'll go crazy. You gotta turn off your mind. You gotta find the off switch to your mind. But but reframing that I am hungry to I am healing and just recognition that okay, every time that my stomach growls, it's just a remembrance that that this is my body eating away old dead bacteria or live bacteria or live viruses
Mhm.
or fat storage that I'm eating, which is the best food that humanity can eat. It's the best. We've been eating it
Correct.
for a million years, and it's the best, most healthiest thing that we can do, as long as we're getting our minerals. Or that it's the cancer cells that are it decreases cancer rate by risk by 90%. When you're eating up those old dead cells and cancer cells, that's what your body disposes of and eats for the first time when it doesn't have all that food to process. And so yeah, when I shifted that in my mind, it made the fast much easier. It was a pure water fast with just electrolytes, and so whenever I felt like I needed electrolytes, I would add those back in. But it was 0 calorie electrolytes, so it was a 10-day 0 calorie water fast with electrolytes for just when you feel like you need energy or whatever.
So, how often did you do the electrolytes? Like a couple times a day,
In
or?
the morning, every morning, basically, and then if I needed some in the afternoon, I would have a glass. Yeah.
Mhm. And can I ask, did you, like measurables, things
Yeah.
like, yeah, did you keep track of all, like, all of your measurables and stuff?
For the most part, yeah. My blood pressure seems to have regulated itself, like, on the day 10, and I actually read a study that if you have high blood pressure and you fast for 10 to 11 days, like, 90% of the patients have saw a significant reduction in blood pressure, so, that was one that I think I'm seeing, but I still am kinda monitoring because 'cause I've been on medication, and it's just it can be, ups and downs, but that feels like it's gone better, but yeah, the weight-wise, I mean, I started at 210, and on the last day I was 193, and
Mhm.
so, it was a lot of inflammation. You can see, like, neck-wise, you can see, I mean, I'm, like, totally, like, just everything is back where it's supposed to be from a
Mhm.
and my neck was all, that's the first place that kinda starts to hang down.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Inflammation-wise, you can see it in your cheeks, your puffy redness, your nose, your hands, your joints, you can feel it, that's all gone. So, in the first 48 hours, all the inflammation is gone, it's shed it. So, I think I lost 6, 7 pounds of inflammation in the first 2 days, and then after that, it was like, just a steady, basically, pound and a half of fat, you know, by day, and so total weight loss was probably about 10 pounds of fat, 6 pounds of inflammation, 1 or 2 pounds of muscle, something like that. But the muscle comes right back if you when you work out.
Got it. And then the health benefits, it makes sense to me. We evolved as hunter gatherers, likely going long stretches of time without food,
Yeah.
And when I've done even my 2.5 days, like on day two, there's a change in my cognitive. I can't quite explain it, but it just, I feel like my brain is working different. I'm focused on different things. And I, it makes sense to me, from an evolutionary standpoint. And also, I've always just, besides when I was in the army, because like they put you through the the chow line 3 times a day. I've always just intermittent fasted before it became like a popular thing. I just intermittent fasted.
Mhm.
The reason why recently I did a 2.5 day is I have a, without getting into too much detail about myself, I've got like hip and back and sciatic nerve issues from
Mhm.
military and martial arts and decades of lifting weights and running and whatever, all this stuff. And the only things that I've tried everything, okay, the only things that have actually helped are Tai Chi and fasting.
Mhm.
When I fast, by day two, I'm in like far less pain,
Right,
and my mobility is like way better and stuff like that.
right.
And so my plan is to work my way up to 10 as well, approximately. Do you
Mhm.
have any tips or advice for me?
Yeah, that's it, man. The one thing is just that mental component of it, that's the big thing. Just reframe the hunger to healing in your mind, and if you can shift that your reality, in your mind and really recognize and know deeply that your body does not need food, that your that the thing that's really happening is the healing. If you can shift that, that's the big thing, man, and then, to be able to, like, go inward, and
Hmm.
not like be just focused on everything that's outside, but to really be focused on just, your internal body because you're gonna feel it in a way that you've never felt it before. Like if you walk out and you just do grounding, and you're just like the amount you just stand there with no shoes on the earth. The amount of like electricity that you feel flowing through your body on a 10-day fast is just like the goosebumps, I guess, is the way to describe it. It's just freaking wild. And so but I think, like, going inward and being able to feel your inner body and when your mind is telling you that you're tired or telling you that you're, irritated or hungry or whatever that emotion might be. Because you do get what I would say is that near the end of a 10-day, you're very direct. Like, I mean, like a lot of stuff, and people might not necessarily be ready for that. It's not a negative. It's not like you're angry or you're upset, but some people might misinterpret it, your directness for he's in a bad mood or like judging your energy or whatever,
Ah,
and that can cause conflict, between between people. But in reality, I mean, think about a human who hadn't eaten food in 10 days. They're thinking about the hunt, right? I mean, they're
Right.
very clear. There's one thing on their mind, and that's you know, it's the animal, or finding, you know, whatever it is. And it's not that they're in a bad place. They're just, you know, they don't have you don't have time for you know, the fluff to make sure that everybody feels like they're in a safe place. It's like, you know, it's like you got shit to do. So
That's interesting.
that's the mindset. It is interesting to like to reflect on, you know, that time period and how other people respond to it. So I'd say be careful with the people around you so that they don't misinterpret your energy as something that it's not.
Got it. Okay. And using the word spirituality loosely, did you find any sort of inner spiritual like connection or anything like that during the fast? Do you feel like some people report stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like that was available to me if I went there, you know?
Got
Like,
it.
I felt like if I would've gone out and looked for orbs, I probably would've had no problem finding orbs, you know? Like,
Right, because
yeah,
you were dialed in.
yeah.
And that actually brings me to another question. I literally look for UFOs almost every night. Like I go out there and I'm like, come on,
Yeah, I
show me, show me, show me.
yeah.
And so, and I've heard you mention that you've had a more than one experience. Would you mind sharing what you saw? Because I like to ask almost every guest that comes on the show.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, my first, UFO experience, if you wanna call it that, yeah, I mean, unidentified flying object. Yeah, I was with my wife, and we were with her friend at her house in Mayaca, which is, East Bradenton, Florida, so just, east of Sarasota, Florida. And, we were on a campfire and 10 o'clock at night sitting there around a campfire. And like you just said, I had 5 minutes earlier than that, I had a deep thought in my mind that I wanted to see one. I wanted to see something. And so I kept, you know, I was like, yeah, I was looking up in the sky for one. And coincidence or not, that thought left my mind. And about 5 minutes later, I look back up, and there's a huge black triangle.
You saw a black triangle.
Black triangle, yeah, yeah, and it was, you know, larger than any airplane I'd seen. You know,
Approximately how close? Hard to tell.
I'd say it was at an altitude of about 8 to 10,000 feet.
Okay, but you could tell it was huge.
Oh god, yes. I mean, if you see a plane at 10,000 feet, you're seeing the full plane, like, you know,
Right.
it's close, you know, it was very close. It was under the cloud level, you know, and it wasn't a dense cloud, but yeah, it just kind of appeared in that spot that I had been looking at prior. And I said, you know, I just started, you know, guys, like, do you see that? Like, and they just like looked up, and then they just started, you know, freaking out too. And you know, I got up, and kind of, it was flying to the east. It looked like it was above basically Lake Mayaca
Mhm.
in Mayaca State Park. And you know, so I don't know if that's a coincidence. I don't know if it was in that, but it just appeared basically right over it from what I could tell, about you know, 8,000 feet up. And then it started moving to the east, and which is away from where we were. And so I kind of got out and ran to the entrance of the driveway from the house that we were at, because it had got to behind an oak tree, where I couldn't see it. And so I ran to the driveway to try to, like, you know, find it and see every second of it that I could see, to see what it could do, or what it would do. But it just kind of kept floating away. No sound. It had a big orange amber orb in the middle of it on the bottom, and these kind of lights around the exterior of it, and it was moving maybe 100 miles per hour, so really slow, you know. And you know, my wife saw it, her friend saw it, and her friend has said that has since seen one other thing out there near her property that her son and her saw with her. That's just, you know, another unexplainable ship, basically, you know, out there. So I don't know, man, but that's what we saw, and it was there. And you know, unless it was a three-way hallucination, we all saw the same thing. So you know, it could have been government. I don't sure. It could have been government. You know, I'm not jumping to like aliens necessarily, but it wasn't
Mhm.
it wasn't like we have this like this is like known tech or anything. This was super advanced. I'm gonna have Mike Herrera on, who says that he saw, I guess, this huge saucer and whatnot that military wise. I want to talk to him about it, but he said that it was human tech, and so open to possibilities. But I just know that it was nothing that I'd ever seen before was anything like this, and just complete lack of sound and just this huge black triangular craft. It was just very odd.
Any like, did the animals or insects act weird? Any energetic changes in the environment that
I
you
didn't
felt?
notice. I didn't
No,
notice that.
you're
No.
probably too excited.
I was too excited. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I was freaking out, man.
Guess who's going to Mayaca State Park this summer?
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
I'll stay there for a week every night with
yeah,
binoculars, I swear.
yeah, yeah.
So, and then did you have another experience as well?
That was the main thing that I've seen, I mean, the Bledsoes came down, Ryan Bledsoe, and we saw some weird stuff, the night
Okay.
before we recorded his episode. I saw,
Mhm.
3 orbs that were in a triangular formation that were moving across the sky that, basically like what a satellite would look like, but you'd never see 3 that are in a perfect formation of a triangle, like that. I've never seen it, and I'm constantly looking up at the skies, and
Mhm.
you never see 2 together, but let alone 3.
Mhm.
Ryan that night saw something as well, an orb that seemed to like do like a spiral thing. So that was a weird night, but that was kind of and then I mean, I've seen like one time in my life, I'm just looking up and I'm looking at what I thought was a constellation, and one of the stars, it just zips off. It does like this weird like zip off and
Mhm.
kind of then it's gone. I saw that maybe 2 years ago, so that was like one of those holy shit, that was weird kind of a thing, but like in terms of anything in addition to that, I have not been fortunate enough to like have an encounter with what I would call or see it up close or anything like that.
I'm still jealous. I met Chris and Ryan Bledsoe at Contact in the Desert, and I went to like sort of the live demo that anyone who wanted to go, they did it sort of in the back courtyard area of the venue. And I didn't see anything. Some people said they did. I didn't. I think it's me, man. I think they don't want I think they don't like me or something. Or I'm not tuned into the right frequency or something like that. But again, I'm just making shit up. But who knows? It could be extraterrestrials, extra dimensional, most likely, government tech, that kind of thing. What do you think about
Future Human too, I think
yeah,
is a really good, theory. Mike Masters,
could be.
I think that checks a lot of boxes from a lot of experiences that people have had.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah, the
mhm.
one that gets me is that aerial school Zimbabwe where they saw the, extraterrestrial, and they saw the craft, and it communicated with them telepathically, and you've got
That's a weird one.
80 school children that all saw the same thing and were communicated with by an actual ET. So that's, I think that one and the Virginia one,
Virginia, yeah, it's a big
uh,
one.
yeah, it's like it makes me think that it's more than just government tech, those experiences. But I believe people, and those were kids, and they're all saying the same thing now. It's impacted their lives, and they're like,
Mhm.
they're not trying to get famous. Like in the school, the teachers there, had experiences with an actual ET, in the days that followed the landing of the craft. So, that's just that one for me was like, okay, I can dismiss a lot of this as government, stuff and just conspiracy stuff, but some of the experiencers are
Real.
very hard to, yeah, I mean, yeah, certainly real to them, and if it was, then what does that mean for reality itself? Like, Yeah,
Right, totally.
yeah.
What do you think about modern UFO disclosure? Because like we even have government, like, well, whistleblowers saying like that recovered craft from archaeological sites and stuff like that. And I I get so with the whole thing, and I don't want to name all their names, but everyone that's been putting them out there, whistleblowers, people are starting this modern UFO disclosure stuff. I have a hard time trusting it all.
Mm.
How do you feel about modern UFO disclosure? What's coming from the government and what's coming from these whistleblowers and whatnot?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's so, I'm not like, as a podcaster, I feel like I need to be open to the possibility that this is a government disinformation campaign with the whistleblowers, and that that every one of them is being paid by the government to just make us confused.
Hmm.
It seems like it's more complex than that, and that would be one of the less likely scenarios, just based on everything that I've seen, but I'm not discounting that. I think there's, maybe that's a 20% in my mind, or a 10% or something like that, I want to believe David Grush. I have a harder time with Lou Elizondo for some reason, just because,
Same.
but I want to believe, I believe Ryan Graves,
Yeah, I do too.
so it's just kind of a case by case, kind of a kind of a thing. It's very complex, man. It's very muddy.
It
It's
is.
very hard to know.
And we're talking about different things here, like what Ryan Graves is seeing is not the same thing as a Tic Tac, and
Right, right.
what Bob Lazar described is not the same as those two. And there's so many different like types of this stuff. You mentioned Bob Lazar earlier, and he's been a big player in this for a while. I tend to believe Bob. I How do you feel about Bob? He's told the same story like for this whole time, right?
I tend to believe Bob. Yeah, I mean, and one of the things for me is like the Jeremy Corbell filming that movie with Bob Lazar. It's like this
Yeah.
stupidest name, aliens, saucers. It's like
Yeah, worst name, yeah.
yeah, but that
Good
movie,
film.
for sure, and they're in his house, and they talk about some element, whatever, or some extraterrestrial material that he might have, and then his house, while they're filming, gets raided by all these agencies and all these people and non-agencies, and so for me that added a lot of credibility to Bob Lazar, and certainly that could be misinformation, and Jeremy Corbell could be lying about that. I just don't think that it's just, I mean, to keep up this lie, all of these people, all of these things, all of these whistleblowers, like, and to have them, it just seems less likely that was all staged and is being perpetuated as a lie, into today, than just it happened. Like, his house was raided, and they are taking this seriously, and maybe they did think that he had this material, and maybe they did wanna come get it, Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I get it's a movie, but, it wasn't it's a documentary, man. It's like they're at his house filming. This isn't like they're, like, hiring actors and, like, bringing in, like,
Mhm.
all these guys in suits. Like, this is a legitimate raid on this guy's house. Why? If there's nothing there, why,
Yeah, it's
So,
weird.
yeah.
It's weird, it's complex, and it's one of those things that I believe, we're gonna get slow dripped and more info. I think it's one of those things like where if they do know something, it's a controlled drip. That way it's handled like culturally and emotionally by the population in the right way. And some people believe that even all these movies and things have been sort of prepping us for this for a long time. So
Mhm.
who knows? And hopefully we find out soon. But I always like asking all my guests if they've seen a UFO. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm gonna go. Literally gonna go to Mayaca State Park and do that. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just FYI.
Yep.
One of the things I want to talk about, I saved for the end, was I'm really interested because I didn't look into this at all myself, except for you know what Grok told me briefly. But fourth generation retailer. Would you tell me the story and history of Bealls, and how you inherited the company and all that stuff, and what was life like growing up as in that family and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we started in 1915. My great grandfather started the company. He came down from Georgia, and he had a farm in Georgia. It was a cotton farm, and it was devastated by a boll weevil epidemic, which is a beetle, and so lost everything and took his life savings and came down to Bradenton, Florida, and started a retail company. I think he had $2,500 to his name and started a store. And this was 1915. And then we had the difficult years with the leading up to the depression, and then the extended
Mm-hmm.
depression. And he actually lost the company to the bank and wasn't able to pay for it, and spent about 10 years trying to earn the money back to pay back the bank to get his business back. And so from there, we learned a lot about financial responsibility, and the facts that, and a lot about banks, and that. And then it kind of just grew from there. His son got into it and kind of took the business over, and then that was my grandfather, and then my dad got into the business in 1980 and operated the business until about 2004. um, and we had a CEO between my father and I. I was very young, and 20. I think I entered at 25. So it's not. It wasn't like I inherited the CEO role. I worked
Sure.
16 years, starting at the bottom of the company. I worked in the company in high school. I was,
Wow.
worked in the stores, in the stock rooms, at the cash
Awesome.
register. I worked in the distribution center, pushing boxes across all the processing areas, during the summers. And so, yeah, I mean, I really learned the business from the inside and from the ground level up for 15 years, and then
Wow.
ultimately had a lot of success as a merchant, and was promoted to president ultimately of one of our divisions, one of our chains, and had a lot of success there, and then was promoted to CEO in 2021. And it's been the best 5 years in company history financially that we've ever had. We've grown nicely, and we just got stock valuation back is an all-time high. We've got the healthiest cash position we've ever had. So I mean, we're opening stores. It's not, retail is not without struggle, obviously. I mean, there's always challenges, but it's been a good, I think, kind of success story in a difficult time period. And we're getting smarter, man. We're running the company more effectively, more efficiently. It's different now. It's not a traditional, like, your grandmother's store, but coming from Florida and a lot of retiree communities, we kind of get that stigma, and I think that's kind of holding us back. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of like a Ross or a TJ Maxx or a Burlington, where we've got great deals, great values, great brands. Nike, Adidas, Jordan. All the athletic brand, all the great brands that all those companies carry. We have, and at prices that Amazon can't touch, and big box retailers can't touch. We're at the best value, so that you can be at. So that's kind of our business model. Fast turn,
Hmm.
and that's kind of Bells.
Sweet. And is it seems like I would think it's rare to have sort of the lineage of a company last 4 generations through the depression. Is that that's got to
Yeah.
be rare, right?
Yeah, I don't know of any other company out there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's a direct, and just randomly, like, it's just a direct male linear. It's like me, my father, his father, his father, his father.
Wow.
Like, and there's only one male in every generation, and like every male chose to work in the company, and that's very rare. I have three older sisters. None of them wanted to want it. It's for people. It's just too stressful, and it's like it's not my passion. But for me, this was always something that I wanted to be able to carry on this legacy, recognizing how rare it is to have a family business that's out there competing with national retailers, that's growing and hasn't sold out, and hasn't, in because that's what it's like fasting. You only have to choose
Yes.
to sell out once. You only need one owner that's like, I'm good, man. I'm just gonna retire. And that's when your legacy is done. That's when your business is done. And you sell out like everybody else sells out. And so
Hmm.
we didn't want to be, I don't want to be like that. And my the leaders that came before me didn't want to be like that. We think that we can compete with the best. We think that we can be the best. We don't think that we need to be public to do it. And we think that we're going to be here for a long time, providing families with the clothes that they want at super affordable prices. So, little plug for Bells there. Shout out.
Well, it's important because, like, part of me, like, you guys are opening stores while many stores are closing, like department stores and things like that, and it's because of Amazon and whatnot. But when I order stuff on Amazon, I probably have like a 40% return rate because it's never what I want. I didn't get to see it in person. You know what I mean? And a
Yeah,
lot,
the shirt's
and
too big. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then you've got to go down to Kohl's or Staples or whatever, UPS, and return it. And there's always like a huge line of people with like hundreds of boxes returning. And it makes me wonder, like, is that just a write-off for them, all those returns? Like what a waste of money. And I really love the experience of going into a department store and looking around and, trying stuff on and holding stuff in my hand. And for a while there, I was concerned that like that was going to go away somehow. Like it would be drones dropping shit off. And are you telling me there's always going to be a Bells I can walk into?
Yeah, man. I mean, so yes, in my opinion, yes. There's always going to be brick and mortar retailer. It's like guys like to hunt, girls like to shop, you know?
Uh,
And so that's the thing. There's always going to be a space for brick and mortar retailer. People want to go and see what's happening. They want to be in their community. They want to connect with the town. They want to connect with their friends.
yes.
It's an experience for them. So yeah, we have to just make it the best experience that we can for people and be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And if we can do that, then we're going to be the retailer of choice in the future. There's going to be less brick and mortar. I mean, obviously you've seen that kind of trend since the internet and Amazon and the advent of e-commerce and
Hmm.
whatnot. I mean, there's just less need for brick and mortar retail space, and that's changing to restaurants and it's changing to entertainment, and malls are closing and whatnot. So the space is kind of rationalizing itself over time, but there's always going to be that need. And if we can be the best in breed in that and stay true to who we are, we're going to be successful. And we're not trying to be the best e-commerce giant on the planet because our supply chain, candidly, the business model just doesn't work like that. If you're born into that and you start off as Amazon, check, yes, that makes sense. But if you are 98% of your volume, your sales, your profits all come from brick and mortar retail, that's what you gotta focus on. And that was hard for a lot of people for years to understand that, because everybody's like, oh, you got to dominate online. It's going to everybody's going to eat everybody up. But the people that it ended up eating up were the people that lost sight of their brick and mortar business. And
Mm.
they're all gone now. And they spent way too much time and effort and focus on the internet when that's never who they were. It was never paying their bills. It was never profitable for them. They could never make it work financially, and they lost sight of their core business. And that's what we're not doing. And that's a big part of the reason. There's a lot of things. Retail is very complex, but that got a number of people, and we didn't get trapped by that.
Got it. Any crypt you're implementing crypto, any other like goals, plans for the future of the company for the next 10 years or so?
I mean, yeah, in terms of blockchain, when you talk about like tokenizing your loyalty assets, this is probably too much TMI, but nobody's really
Nah.
tokenized a loyalty program yet. So I want to be first to market on
Hmm.
that, and I've challenged our technology department to let's be a technology company. Let's get the first to market on a tokenized loyalty program that's blockchain based. So that's pretty cool. But I mean, in retail, man, everything is constantly changing and evolving.
Hmm.
AI is changing everything. We're
Yeah.
trying to find a VP of AI right now. We're integrating AI globally everywhere that we can. We're attempting to add on modules so that ultimately all of our systems are interconnected, and we're not using third-party AI versions that are kind of fit together in these very, very expensive projects with oracles and all of these people is just, I think, a thing of the past, because AI is eventually going to solve all that. So and integrate everything seamlessly, all of your data seamlessly, and all of your software solutions seamlessly. So working towards that modulistic approach to the future of technology within the company.
It's exciting, man. Evolving, changing with the times, and also keeping things like, human, right? I love how you
Yeah.
said, you mentioned the experience of like getting out into your community and going shopping, right? Like for some people, that's their human connection. And maybe they live alone, and they're older or something. And when they get out, it's when they go to the grocery store, they go to Bell's or something like that. And I think that's really important. My mom, that's her thing. That's how she socializes.
Mhm.
She goes out and goes to the store and you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so that's cool, man. And I I wanted to end with just a thank you because I've been I've been working on my craft for a while, and I watch guys like you and other people I've mentioned in your evolution and how you do things, and try to evolve how I do things. Not be like you, be more like me, and just look at the things that I can change and watch myself. And so I really just wanted to thank you. I do take a lot of inspiration from you. So when I threw that Hail Mary or shot that full court shot last week and sent you a message, it was really a great honor for you to respond and come on the show. So I'm gonna stop pouring it on here, but thank you so much, Matt, for joining the Multiverse. And I wonder, maybe we can do this again someday.
Absolutely, man. No, I'd be happy to. I was thrilled with the invitation, and appreciate what you're doing here. You're making some really great content, and I
Thank
know
you.
that you're following your passion and doing a great job. And
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. Your show's great. You're connecting with a lot of really cool people, and so it's fun to watch. And I sense your energy as a good, genuine human being.
Thank you.
So it's great to connect. And yeah, I'm saying yes to life. I
Sweet.
think that's a good motto. Just attempt to minimize resistance and say yes to life. So when you reached out, man, yes, all in, all the boxes check off for this one, and I was pumped to do it. So thank you for the invitation, sir.
You're welcome, and I think maybe we'll meet sometime soon in person. As I mentioned before, like I'm a mental health counselor. I work for a veteran nonprofit organization that serves veterans, and I'm very passionate about mental health and men's mental health and veteran mental health. And so I am in contact with Crystal to come down and do her show, which I think is really great what she does. So maybe we'll get to hang out down in Florida here soon.
We will. Yeah, I look forward to it. We'll do a dinner, and I know Crystal's excited to chat with you. So yeah, man, that sounds great. I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Okay, man. Take care. Thank you so much.
You too, brother. Thank you, man.
All right. Bye.